We go back another 100 or so years at the time of this story. Something like that.
When the packet arrived on the southern part of Manhattan Island, His Excellency, General George Washington, scrutinized the document. He couldn't quite believe what had happened, though he knew it was inevitable. But now, in his hands, he had something that at once could mark freedom or death. A Declaration of Independence, says he. I'm going to have you, Major, read this document to all those who might gather on the subject of Manhattan Island, along with my militia and my continentals. And at that very moment, in early July 1776, as Washington assembled his troops, assembling right round here, a large armada over 100 ships, 35,000, maybe more, uniformed fighters from the highlands of Scotland, from the central hills of Britain, and even the distant land of Germany, they gathered. Why? What that document indicated an insult, not just to the English, the British people, the land of England, the land of the colonies, the king, but in the eyes of those armies, it insulted even God. Who on earth would ever think that people could be ruled by anyone less than a king or a queen? But this document was saying that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among them, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When that document got read out loud, why, there were some who were not only cheering, huzzah, and down with the king, they literally wanted to take down the king. Thus, Isaac Sears, Alexander McDougall, and others brought out crowbars and marched down to a great lead statue that folks were beginning to cease in 1770 when they came in from Staten Island. There, the first thing to greet their eyes would be a rather stuffy-looking statue of His Majesty King George III. Bring down George! Huzzah! Down with George! And they broke him into hundreds of pieces. After the declaration was read, there happened to be passing by one of those who had signed the declaration, a fellow by the name of Walcott, from Connecticut. But he hired a team of ox and a couple of carts and had some of the fragments of that lead statue thrown into the cart. He then had it hauled away, where he ordered his children, a girl of 11, a boy of 9, to melt down the lead that once made the figure of King George, and had that lead turned into 42,000 bullets to be used against the king's army, who sought to stop the cause here for liberty and independence. Now here, on Staten Island, a few thousand, mostly farm folk lived. When they saw that huge armada, they trembled with fear and felt they had best not defy the king. Why, look at this army here. And for a time they did not. But eventually, the stirring touched their hearts here. They too rose up and helped in myriad ways, whether he was making or firing bullets, to attending to the farms, to bring about liberty, the freedom, the independence we still enjoy if we continue to do as those who went before us did, to fight for those freedoms, that independence and liberty. And thanks for listening. There's Yankee Doodle calling us right now. Thank you very much.
What's your name, sir? Can you repeat your name, sir?
My name is Jonathan Kruk, storyteller, and this is Steve Kellman. Oh, I'd be remiss before I let you go. I've got to jump into more contemporary times to remind you of something that happened around on Staten Island. Really not all that long ago, certainly compared to the times we've been talking about. Now, this report came in from reliable sources, the New York Post, for one. Now, it seemed back in the days, just before the Verrazano Narrows Bridge got built. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember that. It goes way back to the mid-'60s. You weren't even a gleam in your father's eye back then, were you? No.
Good story.
Well, a tall story there. Well, at about that time, the indefatigable Staten Island ferry traversed the watery ways, and folk would commute upon this vessel, and they would read their papers and attend to their coffee, and a few would even think about, well, what was going on in the watery ways between Staten and Manhattan Islands. On a particularly gloomy November morn, something appeared in the gloom, and an eyewitness said, he says, now I was looking from the shore, and I sees this thing rising up, and it looked like something, well, slimy and rubbery and leathery, and it had these circles on it, all up and down, and one of them goes right by this fella. He's just opening up the post there, didn't even notice, but I noticed something else. Right next to one of those long, leathery, slithery things going up, another, and another, and there were 8 of them. And what did they do? 4 on each side. They rise up out of the waters between Manhattan and Staten, and they grip the ferry boat. Now, you might be looking, thinking, what's this guy doing? He's a little, out of his mind there. No, I'm telling you, sure as I'm sitting here, I've seen it with my own eyes. Grabs hold of the ferry. Some kind of monstrosity grips it. And then the humanity, the screams, the cries. Oh! And then the boat, ferry, it's rocking here and rocking there, rocking back and forth. Suddenly, he gets pulled down the entire Staten Island ferry. And this was before Colin Jost or Pete Davidson could have bought that ferry. They would have bought it too. Them show-offs. Because that boat went down. Never to be seen. You're laughing? Oh, it was gone. Forever. Now you're sitting there looking at me. How come we don't know about this? Well, if you'd gone around Staten Island and visited some historic sites, you'd see there is a monument to the lost ferry dragged down by that octopus. And your reason you didn't hear it? What day did it happen? November 22nd, 1963. Now, none of you was born then, but I was around. On that day, what happened? A terrible tragedy. The only thing worth talking about that day, JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, got assassinated. That's what folk talked about, not the demise of Staten Island ferry. But now at least yous know what happened way back when. And that story, excuse me a second here, it's true as I'm standing here. You don't believe it? Then you go look it up on YouTube. And then you'll know it's true. And thank you for listening. There we go.